Hello students. Today we are going to perform a practical number 4, that is to observe the action of zinc, iron, copper and aluminum metals on the following salt solutions, that is zinc sulfate, ferrous sulfate, copper sulfate, aluminum sulfate. And in the second part of the practical, we are going to arrange the zinc, iron, copper, and aluminum metals in decreasing order of their reactivity based on the above results. So let's start with the practical. At first, we have taken the metal aluminum. In beaker A, we are having the copper sulfate. Beaker B, we are having the zinc sulfate. And beaker C, we are having again zinc sulfate. In beaker C, we have taken a ferrous sulfate. So let's start. I have taken a aluminum metal, put it in the beaker A. Wait for an hour. What happens? That its color has faded. The reason being is what aluminum is more reactive than the copper. Therefore, it displaces copper from the copper sulfate and forms a colorless solution of aluminum sulfate. Next step, again we take a aluminum, put it in a beaker B where was the zinc sulfate. Again, what happens that aluminum is more reactive than zinc, therefore, it displaces zinc from zinc sulfate to form the aluminum sulfate. In the beaker C, again we add a aluminum and observe the observation. Again, what happened? It has become a colorless. Why? Because aluminum is more reactive than iron, therefore, it displaces the ferrous sulfate to form the aluminum sulfate. At second, we take a zinc as a metal. In the beaker A, we have taken a copper sulfate, putting a zinc, waiting for an hour. So what happens over here? Zinc is more reactive than copper, therefore it displaces a copper sulfate solution and form the colorless solution of zinc sulfate. In the beaker B, we have taken a aluminum sulfate, waiting for an hour. So what happens? No change is observed. The reason being is what? Because zinc is more reactive than the aluminum. In the beaker C, again we are having the aluminum sulfate only. Next is next metal, iron. In the case of iron, I have kept it in the beaker B where was the zinc sulfate. So what happens? No change is observed. The reason being iron is what? It is going to be the indicates that iron is less reactive than zinc, therefore it cannot displace. Putting in the beaker C, that is aluminum sulfate, again no change is observed, which indicates that iron is less reactive. Next metal, we take a copper. Beaker A, it was having the zinc sulfate. So what happens after an hour? No change. Why? Because this copper is less reactive than the zinc, so it cannot displace. Putting it in the beaker B, waiting for an hour. So again, what happens? That no change is observed. The reason being is what? Copper is less reactive than iron. so it cannot displace the iron sulfate. Now, on the basis of this, we can tell that which metal is going to be the most reactive. Now, which one is going to be the most reactive over here? Can anyone tell in this case? The metal which has displaced every from its salt solution, that is going to be the most reactive. That is your aluminium. The metal which is going to be the least reactive is copper. And if we look the increasing order of the reactivity, then it will be what? Copper is going to be the least, then iron, then zinc, and then aluminium. This is how we are going to observe the action, or we can find out that which metal's reactivity is more. For today, thank you.